Their clothes are super soft. I do
Right.
love their quality a lot.
Yeah, they're the best.
Yeah,
Best deal in town.
Are
for
they?
sure.
But for me.
Right.
For
Not-
sure. I
and
mean,
then
40%
not in
off
town
is huge.
online.
Right. Huh, yeah, I'll have to check it out.
You should. Logan, he's a fan.
Hmm.
They have good swim shorts.
So
It's
what's,
hard when you can't try it on, you know.
So what's the agenda?
Right. That's true. Our agenda is for
What are we diving into?
us leveling up all the stuff.
Leveling up.
Fitness, health, the things that we decided to do over the last few years besides just be sober. So obviously yesterday we talked on, you finally quit nicotine, the intermittent fasting.
So
We'll
try
talk
not
about
to-
TOTSs. We'll talk about the whoop.
Try
We'll
not
talk
to
about,
repeat those things. Yeah.
well, not
well.
necessarily, because we're all going to talk about, I think, our diets, all of our hacks, our flat shoes, our nose breathing, our fucking, just all the crazy shit that we in the last few years have decided to do and why.
Okay, we're good to go.
All right.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
Cool. That gives me a very good idea of what to focus on.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
I
Because
sound really loud. Is that no?
Sound
you sound normal.
Normal?
That's how you sound, Tom.
All right.
You're kind of loud.
You,
I'm a
you're
little
kind of
loud.
loud.
All right.
Yeah, so.
That's cool. All right.
Tots and I are like, what? No,
No,
that's you, man.
Yeah.
Jinx. Ready?
Ready.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. Today we are putting on two of my favorite staff, Tatsuya Sakamoto and Thomas Legan. I'm using your full names. I will not use my full name of Angela Manson. But here we are. And I thought it was really important for us today to talk about, because I've been on a lot of podcasts. We've been talking together for, God, fuck. Edit that, Billy.
Oh.
Sorry.
Whoa.
God, fuck, shit.
Whoa.
Don't edit.
Quite the reaction.
I was mad at myself right there.
It's all good. We just do it again.
Exactly. Well, that's the magic of editing, and I will never want to do it live. But I have done it live. Okay. So I wanted to bring us all on today because we are at a point in our lives where it's beyond just being sober. We've got that one figured out. But we've all really put a lot of attention and focus on leveling up the last few years. And specifically the three of us. We all try something out, or one of us does. We talk about it. Now both of us are, all three of us are. And I really find that to be fascinating because although it's become very normal for me, this is what we do. This is not normal for the rest of the world. But I thought it was some really cool stuff, and it would be a good opportunity for us three to talk about all the different things we've been doing over the last few years to take our fitness to the next level and our health, and why we decided to do that. Cool?
Nice.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so who wants
Exciting
to
stuff.
start? It is exciting stuff. We love it. We're like passionate about this stuff.
Well, I was thinking in the shower this morning about this topic.
Okay, perfect.
And, I just feel like, in recovery, some people take the defensive position and, they just try to maintain something, right? I was just thinking how important it is to maintain an offensive, just in recovery as well as in life, right? You just, I feel like you can't win by just playing defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what a lot of this is about for me. You just, keep going, what's next, and then just keep, growing and getting stronger and smarter, and, just achieving new plateaus as opposed to just being like, okay, I'm sober. I'm just gonna, try to continue to stay sober, and that's it,
Yeah.
1000%.
Not just like, this is my routine. I'm just going to stay with this routine, and of exercise and eating this way. It's important to, I hear what you're saying. It's important to look beyond that and to constantly learn, so you're so you're on the offense.
Right,
Of
right.
everything. The offense of aging, the offense of our mental, cognitive ability, or cognitive health. That's very cool.
Right, because it's not, some people, I think they white knuckle it, and I think that's what, when you have to white knuckle is, when you're just on the defense, you just like, you are, maybe some people are like terrified of relapse, and they're over focused on that, as opposed to going, well, let's continue living life and, chasing, whatever's next,
I love that. Well, and especially, I think the three of us have delved a lot into the science behind everything, the hormones that get generated from doing healthy things or good things, which in itself, what I've found, can be its own addiction, but in a very positive way. So instead of chasing that high to get that shot, we go in the gym, or we do, I don't know, nose tape breathing, mouth tape breathing.
don't tape your nose.
Yeah, don't tape your nose. Yeah, that's the...
Yeah, but the little things that we've all implemented into our lives that help give us those feel-good hormones that aren't having us focused on, and not that we've all had a lot of years in recovery, but how to take this to the next level and really like fine-tune those things that make us feel good, and then keep going in and doing even more of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what was the turning point for you guys as far as where this became a priority in your life? I'll start for myself. So about 5 years ago, when my daughter was graduating, I went to Hawaii. I decided, okay, I've gone all in on being a parent. I am taxed. I have no capacity left. Let me go recharge myself. And I went out there and I took care of myself, but I came back and life was still very much a struggle. And then I would say about a year and a half ago, it was actually, and this whole time we're CrossFitting. It's not like I haven't not kept working out, mostly keto, mostly CrossFit, taking care of myself, taking vitamins, that sort of thing. But I think once the pandemic hit and it was almost like you can't do that stuff, that made me want to do more, even more stuff, and mostly to maintain a very healthy body and mind so that we could navigate and keep helping people and be there for people. And I think that's when I decided to go in on 75 hard. And because of the rigid rules and the working out twice a day and the strict diet for a consistent long period of time, that is when I made the decision and realized the benefit of consistency. Because prior to that point, I would diet, it would go up, it down, I'd be on for 5 days, off for 2 days, I'd work out 3 days, the next week I wouldn't work out any. But it was a yo-yo throughout my entire life of health and fitness. But this was the first thing that forced me into consistency for a long period of time, where I actually got to see the benefits of doing that.
Oh, wow.
Awesome. And I think for me, in the last 2 years, my life made a big change. I moved, and I started working from home, and with that came the easy access to just food. You eat a lot more when you're at home. I mean, that's just the way it is. And I wasn't really health conscious. I mean, I did CrossFit. I had a good understanding of what foods were healthy and what were not, but I never really took those first steps into like cleaning up my diet majorly. I mean, I always have stayed away from sugar, but that doesn't mean that I was watching the amount of carbohydrates that I was eating, which was tremendous. So anyways, I felt like I was really gaining a lot of weight, and like I said the other day, with being 30, your metabolism changes and things like that, and I started noticing that, and I wanted to take action, and I came across some stuff on YouTube, some people on YouTube that were really that made a lot of sense, and I liked the way they were presenting the information, and then so I got really interested in starting something like fasting, like intermittent fasting, and I felt like that was a really good solution to my problem, which was overeating, eating all day, and things like that. And so, and with that came looking at nicotine, as something I needed to quit, and it's something I needed to quit in order to fast correctly, as far as with the nicotine product that I was using, Zen, having a little bit of aspartame in it. And so that whole period of time, I was going to start fasting, but I also needed to start thinking about quitting nicotine. That period of time really got me to shift into, where I am today. Where I believe it's about 5 months later. I'm not keeping track, where I've really dove into a lot of this, interesting new health, stuff that's constantly coming out. These new studies, like being interested in like what's the latest, information on breathing, what's the latest information on, mitochondria uncoupling, what's the latest on how apple cider vinegar can, improve your life. Like, what's the science say? Who's talking about this stuff? And, just so it's super cool, and that's kind of how my journey started into, this kind of subject of leveling up.
Awesome. How about you, Salts?
I don't know. I wouldn't say there was like one moment. I think it's been like a series of things that like have clicked and made sense. And I've always been, I think as a personality trait, I think I'm a curious person. I like to find out things that make sense, and I like to make sense of my life. And I guess maybe one of the latest things that have clicked for me is the state of normal. I think Angie, you mentioned that. This, like why we do things that don't seem normal to a lot of people. And I think, the state of normal is it's not good.
Right.
With mental health, the rates of mental health disorders being on the rise. How the addiction, rates of addiction. How many people are addicted? Millions, billions. I'm not really good with numbers. Being on the rise, and just obesity as well. And that's normal. All these things are now normal.
Right.
And it's just like, well, if this is normal, if it's normal to be in this society where everyone's on medications, and it's normal to have I don't know, like 30% body fat. It's normal to have this level of anxiety, and it's normal to be depressed, and it's normal for this and that. Then I was like, I don't want to be normal. Right? I need to go beyond that. I don't care if people look at me weird. Because if it's like the normal is at such an extreme low, I need to go the complete other way. I need to go extreme. So that's kind of what has clicked for me. And I just feel like our modern lifestyles are so unsustainable. And I always tell the clients, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with you. It's like a societal issue, addiction and mental health and this and that. It's our lifestyles. It's everything. So.
Well, it's transition
Yeah.
where it used to be if you were an addict or an alcoholic, it was like taboo and it was hidden and it was like a bad thing. Whereas now we're such an accepting society that no matter what is wrong with you, it's like, that's okay.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
free to feel that way,
Right.
or whatever it is. So it's almost like we've swung the pendulum so much into acceptance that now it's become comfortable to just live with whatever maladies you have, and that's great.
Right. And yeah, it's not good. Right? We shouldn't accept these, these negative conditions that are normal, and we shouldn't just be eating a bunch of pills, just to stay alive, and feeding this this machine,
Yeah.
this corporate pharmaceutical machine.
Yeah.
all that. So
Well, and again, there's just a product of the society we live in, which is like, if you don't like the way you feel, take something. You don't like the way you look, take something. You don't like this, take something. Quick fix, quick fix. Don't do the work. Don't put in the time. Don't, try to go through the good and the bad of the journey. Just get there right away. But with getting there, there's 50 other side effects that occur that now you have to take something or do something to handle and alleviate all that. Because there is no magic pill, not for addiction and not for health. Like, you've got to put in the work, and a lot of people have been trained and don't want to.
right. So yeah, I guess for me it's just like, it's just how should we live? How should we, be humans? Like what's the best way to be a human being? And what's the most natural? What's the most organic? What's I'm not particularly a religious person, but you could say what's the how do we live the way God intended? How do we live the way nature intended? And I don't think the normal is the way it's we should be living. It doesn't feel right.
No. Yeah, I was driving, into Santa Cruz from where I live in Sonora, and there was a part of, there was this on ramp coming from 680 going on to 880, and you take a Mission Road or whatever, and I was driving up, and at that point of the on ramp, you're like above, and you really see just this crazy spread of just cars and lanes and
It's
all
garbage
that,
down
and
there.
I had this moment, and I was like, oh my God, what have we done? What have we done? And in regards to that kind of ancestral living idea of like what you said, are we living the way God intended, the way nature intended? So I've definitely been into that more, and so yeah, thinking about those things, trying to apply those things, like getting my feet on like actual ground, my bare feet on actual ground,
Right.
Like that. I never, before I started this kind of journey, I never would have thought or been interested in doing something like that. But there is a lot of really cool science on why that is. There's health benefits there, and so anyway, it's just something. That moment was like, wow, what have we done?
Right.
I thought that was like, and that was just a few days ago when I thought that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know exactly where you're talking about.
Yeah.
That area is garbage. I can't stand it.
Yeah,
It's not
It's a sight.
right.
In a very
The gas
bad way.
station and the McDonald's and the Jack in the Box and all the supermarkets.
Yeah.
And it's not nice.
No, it's not.
It's like the opposite of healthy. It's
Yeah.
very unhealthy.
Yeah, and you see all, like, and I was in Starbucks the other day, in a drive-through, and I'm getting a black coffee. I'm on the road. I just want to get a black coffee, and this was on the same trip to town, and I had my window down, and I could just I heard like 2 orders ahead of me, and the people just nonchalantly adding,
Right.
like, I'm sorry, was that 3 extra pumps of syrup, or like,
Yeah,
and-
extra whipped cream.
Yeah.
Got it.
and
Anything you gotta pump into your coffee, that's not good.
that's not,
You
it
got-
can't be good. Yeah,
You
so
know,
much sugar.
What are we pumping into our coffee?
It's not natural.
Yeah.
Whatever, especially whatever Starbucks is using, that's produced for the
Right.
masses. That is not
It's come in
healthy
these
and
giant
organic.
bags of what is it, caramel? These giant, big, 50-pound
gosh.
bags.
All sugar.
All sugar, highly processed sugar, and who knows what else.
Right,
What
right,
other
and
big
that's
words you can't read.
right, and that's what the guy downstairs. Tommy and I were downstairs. The lawyer downstairs, he started talking to us about addiction.
Yeah.
And he was talking about food and sugar, and he was doing a fast and
He said he did
everything.
a 7-day fast, and he said, you know what? I never had felt better, and I felt like I could keep going.
Yep.
Right, and that's, I just think like, they used to say weed is the gateway drug,
Yeah.
Now I'm going, I've thought about, well, what is the gateway drug?
Yeah.
Maybe it's the, all this processed whatever, and the sugars and the poisons that we're eating. It's not even food,
Yeah.
Right. The
It's not even
dyes, the
food.
colors, just
Right, the
everything.
chemicals, the things that you can't pronounce that they put, and that is right. Like, I mean, even with sugar, okay, like you eat high sugar beverages or whatever, you feel great,
Yeah.
Like I remember as a kid, like drinking the Jolt colas,
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
with the double the caffeine and the double the sugar, and I felt great,
Mhm.
and then there will be a crash,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? And then so you go like, okay, well, what am I going to eat now? I'm going to go eat a Snickers or something, and then you feel better,
Yeah.
right? So
It really
it's like,
satisfies.
right, yeah, Snickers, yeah,
And
right.
there's the addiction to
It's the
to
cycle
sugar.
of addiction,
Yeah.
right?
And then you realize you feel great with one, and it's like, you know what? I'm gonna have 2 jolts.
right, yeah, right. And
And-
then you later on you discover, drugs,
Yeah.
and it's not any different.
No. Yeah. You feel good for a little while, and then you feel bad,
Mm-hmm.
and you get used to that habit of something that makes you feel different in a positive way, but it also
Right.
has its negative effect too.
Right.
And you start to think that's the way everything is. But when you eat good food, good whole foods, you don't have that big up, and nor do you have much of a down, if any.
Right.
But I do think we are also battling what we're being told is healthy compared to what actually is healthy. Because I think a lot of people make choices thinking that they're doing healthy things. And for example, when I was growing up, all of a sudden fat became a bad thing. So everything
Yes.
had to be fat free.
Low-
That's how
low
you
fat,
lost
right,
weight.
fat
That's how you
right.
got skinny. Low fat, no fat. And so we're like, oh, of course that makes sense. Fat is bad. And so we would buy all these products that were geared towards low fat, no fat. But the reality is the way they took the fat out is they infused it with a ton of sugar. So you're eating and drinking these products you think are good for you because you're being told that fat is bad, and we're looking at this food pyramid that they told us was our healthiest way to live, which is almost inverted as far as exact opposite of what you should be doing. And so as a society you think you're doing all the right things and you weren't, or you aren't, and so you're not getting healthier. In fact, you're getting more unhealthy, and then it's very confusing, and then you're like, what's the point? I'm doing all these healthy things and I'm not getting any skinnier or healthier.
Yeah.
And so it's so important, and we're very lucky to have like really good, accurate, scientific information out there now that we didn't always have, but you really got to dig for it.
Yeah.
It's not being laid in front of your eyes like through mainstream media or
The
social
health
media.
experts,
Like you've
right.
got to dig to
Right.
get the real information.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I just feel like, the mainstream health experts, like the national level
Yeah.
health experts, they are, they're behind, at best.
Yeah,
Mhm.
At best, they're behind.
that's a nice
But
way of putting it.
yeah, and I know exactly what you're talking about, and years ago, it's interesting because Tommy referred me to a doctor.
I did.
Yes, that was by your dad's office, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's why you referred me there. But I went in there and they said that I had high cholesterol, and then they gave me a printout. The doctor gave me a printout that said, avoid low-fat foods, such as don't eat nuts. Don't eat nuts. Don't eat almonds, peanuts. They gave me a list, and there was a printout, and don't eat eggs. Don't eat this, don't eat that, and that was like, what? This medical doctor is telling me this? Well, we already know, like, and this was years ago. We knew like this data is obsolete.
Yeah.
So I dropped him, but
Oh, sorry
I don't
for
know.
that.
No,
Bunk referral.
I don't know. I
Was
wasn't.
that the one that I referred to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Angie.
Funny how it came around.
Oh.
But it did good by Tom by making him feel real bad about smoking.
Yeah, he did.
Right.
He
Yeah.
did. He made me feel really bad about smoking. for
Right.
sure. Like I came, he was running late, and I was in the parking lot. I went to the waiting room. I checked in, and they let me know he was running behind. And I went out to my car and smoked a cigarette, but he could see, like, from the patient, like the waiting or the patient room. What do you call that? Yeah,
Yeah, the
anyways,
waiting room.
he could see that I was smoking, and so when I came in, he really leaned into me and he told me I needed a pulmonary function test. And
Scared the shit out of you.
yeah, it scared me. Yeah.
Well,
And-
the whole reason I referred Tom to him is because I had gone to him for I thought I had pneumonia. What's happening? I can't breathe. You know, it's got to be something real bad. And he said, have you thought about quitting smoking? And I was like,
Yeah.
well, what do you mean? I don't really smoke that much compared to the way I used to. And he's like, he would not be sympathetic whatsoever to my condition. He would absolutely prescribe me nothing. He just kind of gave it to me as well. And it was exactly what I needed to hear. So when Tom needed to go to a doctor, I was like, I got the perfect one for you.
and it's interesting with
Funny.
smoking. Like that was
Yeah.
this big thing that obviously happened that disrupted the planet, so to speak. Like smoking is bad. Here's this evidence. And I think we're right on the cusp of something like that happening on a broader scale with, things like, processed wheat and sugars and gluten. Like, I feel as though in the next 5 or 10 years, there's going to be like a global, I'd like to hope. This
I
is
don't know.
hopeful.
I don't know. I feel like there's so much money behind unhealthy living. I
Yes.
don't know that will happen.
Yeah, the food industry,
Yeah.
the medical industry,
There is
the
a
pharmaceutical
lot.
industry.
Yeah, GMO, it mass produced cheaply. They're not going to go all organic and say that's the right way to go. There's not big enough profit in
Well,
that.
hopefully there's a divide, but there is definitely there's a lot of doctors researching
Yeah.
very cool things in regards to something just like fasting and all the benefits, and how calories in versus calories out might not actually be the way it all works.
Calorie is a calorie. Yeah.
Well,
And-
that's I think that's like the benefit of what do you call this? Like the podcasts, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of new, smaller alternative media outlets,
Yeah.
right? As opposed to mainstream,
Mhm.
right? But there's always a mainstream narrative,
Mhm.
right? And with with just more like independent independent media, that awareness is going up.
Mhm.
But I do think the mainstream narrative is always gonna feed what's going to drive the profits,
Yeah.
which is the food industry, the pharmaceutical industry, Nestle, is a huge one, and
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have our best interests at heart. They're not looking out for our health. They're looking out for profit, which is unfortunate because they have the big bucks, so they can control the media and tell everybody this is healthy.
But the more people do stuff like what we're doing right now,
Yeah.
there becomes a slow decline on their sales.
Yep.
Like people are starting to look out for ingredients, and you see some of these bigger companies start to change their ingredients, and you also see the reverse effect happen. Like a healthy company, gets really big, people love it, and then they change an ingredient. They change something like one of the oils to a cheaper oil.
they get bought out.
Yeah, they get bought out and they
Yep,
change,
yep.
but then sometimes they change back because they
Right.
start to see like, oh, everyone's privy to the fact that we put canola oil in our product instead of
Right.
instead of olive oil.
Right.
So anyway.